Curious about that once little homeless girl who became a legendary icon dominating the silver screen? In this video, we're delving into the extraordinary life of a true goddess who demolished social norms with finesse. She didn't just break barriers, she masterfully wove an enigmatic web. And let's talk about the affair that set the nation on fire. Recent revelations suggest JFK's bedroom skills might not have matched Monroe's libido. The story of the golden age of pin-up art and cheesecake cinematography would not be complete without a subtle mention of a lady who defied all kinds of social norms regarding women in society to gain superstardom with her irresistible charm. You can call her one of the famous calendar girls, sex goddesses, or spectacular pin-up queen. Marilyn Monroe is sure one of the exceptional beauties of her era. Her unmatched prettiness and career success as a legendary icon could not have been less curious to millions of fans, the reason they kept talking about the trivialities that made her entertainment journey even more colourful, especially her romantic affairs with powerful men, including John F. Kennedy, and, of course, her tragic end. During her ever-busy and very energetic career life, Marilyn Monroe was a pop culture icon. Her era spanned from the 1940s and up to the 1960s, with each decade offering fresh twists and shots in the progress of her sexy and delightful art. Her unique personality fascinated humanity, but she also created confusion, plus enormous condemnation, which became some of the things that made her even more famous. Interestingly, while Monroe was in the spotlight, her personal life was bedevilled with several controversy and secrecy that is today resonating among fans as some of the funniest and perhaps craziest scandals one can think of. Born Norma Jean Mortensen, Monroe grew up in Los Angeles and significantly came from a remarkable background. Was it inadequate parenting or absence of it that saw her grow up in foster homes and orphanages? Not just one, but 12 of such homes. It must have been an ugly upbringing for this cute lady. No wonder she went into her first marriage as early as 16, when she squared out with James Dougherty. Monroe was trying to make ends meet as a factory worker when she caught the attention of a paparazzi. One thing leads to another. The seemingly cute teenage blonde found favour through the lens of the camera, and of course, a fresh pin-up queen was born. Her beauty and success in modelling are what brought her in for an early film engagement with 20th Century Fox and Columbia Pictures. The rest becomes what is today known as the legendary tale of glamour and fame of one of the biggest blonde bombshells of an era. How the once little homeless girl took Hollywood by storm and became one of the most saleable talents remained a marvel. Monroe proved her mettle with leading roles in movies that relied on her sex entreaties, like the film noir Niagara and the comedies Gentlemen Prefer Blondes and How to Marry a Millionaire. Critics say those sensational shows confirmed her star status as a dumb blonde. During the same period, while her sultry image was still making headlines, Monroe cemented her legendary sex symbol typecast with her nude photos on the centerfold and the cover of the first edition of Playboy magazine. The cute thing about Monroe is that she had a special way of creating and managing her image in the public space, which became highly creative. This is also the reason she felt somewhat disappointed when she got less financial benefit from the studio that typecast her in simple dumb blonde roles. I heard that she got suspended at a point for refusing a particular film role, but trust this sultry talent, she returned with a scintillating performance in The 7-Year Itch that became a huge box office success. At birth, Marilyn Monroe met a few complications. Gladys Baker, her mother, an underprivileged Midwestern who, at 15, married abusive and much older John Baker, did not find things funny in life. Issues in Gladys's early marriage led to a funny separation that saw her husband absconding with their 2 kids. Thereafter, Gladys kept herself busy with menial jobs and later married Martin Mortensen. Their marriage broke down a few months after, but within this period a lot of things happened that led to Monroe's birth, the reason her childhood was ruined by the confusion shrouding who her biological father is. Young Monroe said she never knew she had a sister until she was 12. a woman she would meet for the first time about 5 years after she got to learn about her. I later learned that a DNA test put to rest the secrecy of her birth, as facts indicating that Charles Gifford, her mother's co-worker and lover at the time, is her biological father. The circumstances of her birth were just the beginning of the many issues that put a question mark on Monroe's personality. Boxed to a corner by the harsh economic reality, Gladys was unable to take care of her little daughter alone, leading to her sending little Monroe to foster homes. But tragically, just when 7-year-old Monroe was beginning to see more of her mother, Gladys was hit by a mental illness that rendered her irrelevant to her daughter's life, ensuring that young Monroe is left to her fate, since the one person that could have shown her true love became incapacitated. Not too long after, teenage Monroe was hurled to 20th Century Fox studio, where she began her pin-up career. The studio saw her exquisite beauty as her only selling point. Her stylish creativity would put her on the front burner as one of Fox's biggest talents at the time. Unfortunately, her pay remained the same despite her enormous input. Of course, cute Monroe felt cheated. Not just that she was paid far less than rival talents in the studio, she could not choose her movies, as she soon felt she had more to offer than the cheesecake roles that she was typecast in. Her pin-up image was the only thing Darrell F. Zanuck thought she was good for, and did not think she is of much financial value to the studio if played in other film characters. That early confusion and disagreement had led to her suspension when Monroe refused to be part of yet another musical comedy, The Girl in Pink Tights. But when she finally got her contract reviewed, it became a new dawn for this beauty goddess. She became a household name with comics like As Young as You Feel and Monkey Business. She was also remarkable in Clash by Night and Don't Bother to Knock. Monroe's wide audience acceptance ensured that the scandal of her nude photographs before her stardom, rather than ruin her image, made her even more popular. Her creativity was rewarded in 1959 when she won a Golden Globe for Best Actress for her performance in Some Like It Hot. But in all of these, Marilyn Monroe's troubled private life received even greater attention. She had to battle with addiction and mood conditions, and highly publicized marriages with two powerful men, baseball star Joe DiMaggio and playwright Arthur Miller, that ended in divorce. Not forgetting, of course, her epic romances with numerous men, captains of industry, politicians, and so on, creating some of the biggest rumours and scandals of an era, including her affair with JFK, which took a juicier dimension recently with the revelation that he could not perform his sexual duties well when he slept with Monroe. Like the proverbial live fast and die young, Monroe left humanity at the regrettable age of 36. Her death was said to have come from an overdose of barbiturates, but other circumstances of her demise had raised concerns about the possibility that she may have been eliminated by the mafia. Just like many other things about Marilyn Monroe, her death came with several chinwag theories and counter-theories as to the actual cause of her demise. Soon a school of thought circulated a view that she may have been killed by Bobby Kennedy, who they alleged asked gang members of the mobs to kill her. They contended that Bobby Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe were brief lovers at some point. It wasn't known that Monroe also had something with RFK, just like she did with JFK, until the rumours began to circulate, and it seems the gossip is not ending too soon. There was even an insinuation that as their relationship went sour, Bobby had told Marilyn Monroe that he would allow his family to handle her. This school of thought claimed that the job was carried out to make it look like Marilyn ended her life by staging her death as an overdose, probably because she knew too much more than she was supposed to about his activities. The issues that transpired about Marilyn Monroe's fling with JFK are one of the funny rumours that have held the attention of many in recent times. The two were said to have hooked up at Frank Sinatra's guest house, where they did what? Many said Marilyn Monroe and JFK were regular callers at the guest house, which they said was infamously labelled the Passion Den, and what's the issue with that? I heard that Marilyn Monroe thought JFK was bad in bed. When that information broke, many JFK fans reasoned that he may have been affected by stress, hence could not perform well. So JFK seems to have been excused because he was busy at the time with presidential duties, so it is only natural that his body performs below expectation. But for Monroe, who had high expectations of him, it was not funny at all. In a biography titled The Final Years of Marilyn Monroe, The Shocking True Story, Keith Badman hinted how Marilyn had lamented that JFK, in her words, made love like an adolescent. There was even an alleged report that Marilyn Monroe put a call to Jackie Kennedy regarding her affair with JFK. This, I think, is one of the rumours that trended about this epic romance. The lyric was that Marilyn called Jackie to let her know that JFK was planning to divorce her so he can marry her. In a related revelation in Christopher Anderson's publication titled Those Few Precious Days, the Final Year of Jack with Jackie, it was stated that Jackie had replied by saying, "Marilyn, you'll marry Jack. That's great." Responding further, she had asked, "So you'll move into the White House and you'll assume the responsibilities of the First Lady?" With Marilyn Monroe, I guess there was never a dull moment in the media space, because there is always something to keep her fans busy. While I was going through the archives recently, I came across a report that suggested that Marilyn had a nose job. It seems many of her fans held this belief that this pin-up legend had rhinoplasty. It's not as if she had a full nose job, but rather a small portion removed. If you are hoping to read about the many things said about Marilyn Monroe and her extreme drive towards beauty and feminine perfection, you might be shocked that you have not heard the last yet, even though I could not independently verify some of these things. Monroe was famously rumoured to have had her hairline abridged. I'm not sure you have heard the claim that she underwent electrolysis so she could fix her widow's peak. What about her boob job? Yes, there was also an all-time report that she had her boob job, suggesting that one of the greatest Hollywood icons received silicone breast implants. Her never-say-die attitude towards beauty and how she looked ensures that she worked on herself in and out, including having orthodontic work done on her teeth. Sources of this information cited Marilyn's beau Fred Karger, who was believed to have taken the actress to an orthodontist sometime in 1948, where she got a retainer to correct her overbite and teeth bleaching. This may have been the background of the rumour that Marilyn had the wrong teeth. Monroe was very unique, not just in her beauty and talent, but in her relationships. One key occurrence that baffled her fans was how she was alleged to have begun another round of relationships with her ex-husband Joe DiMaggio after divorcing him. Several reports suggested that Marilyn and DiMaggio started dating again after their divorce. Truth or mere rumour, I can't tell. It's still a puzzle to me that they started seeing each other again, with some saying that Joe DiMaggio was preparing to propose to her the second time. But it's a different scenario for Monroe and her first husband, because that union appears odd as far as she was concerned. A source close to the couple, who was a friend of the first husband, said he learned that she hated Jim Dougherty despite legally marrying him. The source hinted that she developed a habit of locking herself in the bathroom most of the time just to avoid him. Jim confided in his pal about his ordeal in the marriage. Some said the marriage was some sort of arrangement that ensured that Marilyn is restricted from returning to the orphanage where she was staying at the time. As I said earlier, following Marilyn's tragic death, several figures were pointed at different persons. Some of those fingered to have had a hand in her death is Dr. Ralph Green, the psychiatrist whom Monroe confided in about very private issues. But it is more of a crazy rumour to believe that Dr. Green was compelled to kill Marilyn after having a very intimate conversation with her. Still on Who Killed Marilyn, her housekeeper Eunice Murray was also roped into the suspicious list after a police report initially suggested they found Murray cleaning sheets when they arrived at the scene. Was it not possible she was closing her trace after the crime? Some persons questioned. What about retired CIA agent Norman Hodges? Did he admit to killing Monroe just to cover up her affairs with JFK? He was allegedly quoted to have said, My commanding officer, Jimmy Hayworth, told me that she had to die. It had to look like an overdose, but the authorities did not think so. All these theories and insinuations are geared towards disputing the assumption that Monroe killed herself. John Milner, an ex-prosecutor, believes that there was no possible way this woman could have killed herself, because Monroe had a very specific plan for her future and knows what she wanted to do in life. Marilyn Monroe was a troubled splendour who did not find happiness as Hollywood's upbeat star. She was discovered dead in her Brentwood apartment. Available facts indicated an apparent overdose of sleeping pills. This adorable blonde was lying face down atop her bed, with one of her hands holding firmly a telephone receiver, when the psychiatrist she called earlier broke into her room. Unfortunately, Marilyn died nearly 6 to 8 hours before she was discovered. And the secrets continue. Join us on the captivating journey as we unravel the enigmatic world of Hollywood marriages. Was John Agar's union with Shirley Temple a bittersweet tale of regret? Watch this video now.